Good morning, dear students. In the course of problematic soils and their management, today I will give the lecture on land suitability classification. This lecture is outlined in different subclass: objective, introduction, definition of land suitability classes, structure of land suitability classes, land suitability order, classification of land suitability, result, example and conclusion. The objective of today's lecture is to introduce the students about land suitability classification. As for introduction, the structure of the suitability classification is described, which is followed by an account of the range of interpreting classification, recognized qualities and quantities and of current or potential suitability, and separate classification are made with respect to each kind of land use and the application to be relevant for the area. Thus, for example, in a region which arable use annually production and forestry were all believed to be possible on certain area and separate this suitability classification is made for each of these three kinds of use. There may be current parts of the areas considered for which particular kinds of the use are not relevant. Example, irrigated agriculture beyond a limit of water availability in these circumstances suitable need not to be assessed. The definition of land suitability classification. This can be defined as land suitability is the fitness of a given type of land for a defined use. The land may be considered in the present condition or after improvement. The process of the land suitability classification is the appraisal and the grouping of the specific areas of land in terms of the suitability for defined uses. This is the structure of the suitability classification. There are you just see the table. There are three types of suitability classification. Land suitability order. It reflects the kinds of the situation. Land suitability order second. It reflects the degree of suitability with order, and land suitability. Land suitability number 3. It is reflecting the kind of limitation or management of the improvement measures required within the class. And land suitability class 4. It is reflecting the difference is required management within the subclass. Land suitability order. There are two order. Order yes, land on which sustained use of the land kind under the current consideration is expected to yield benefit which justify the input without uncapable risk of damage to land resources. Order number n, which is not suitable, and land which has qualities that appear to be particular sustained use of the kind under consideration. Land may be classified as not suitable and unsuitable in this order. Land suitability clauses. Land suitability clauses reflect degree of suitability. The clauses are numbered concurrently by Arabic number in sequence of decreasing degree of the suitability within the order. Within the order suitable, the number of classes is not specified. There might be example be only two, S1 and S2, suitability number 1, suitability number 2. The number of classes recognized should be kept to the minimum necessary to meet interpretive aims. 5 should probably be most ever used. There are 3 sustainable classes. S1, this is the most suitable, and S2, this is a moderate suitable, and class 3 is marginal sustainable. Boundaries of land suitability classification. There are class 1C, currently not suitable, land having limitation which may be surrounded in time but which cannot be corrected with existing knowledge at currently acceptable cost. The limitations are so severe as to include the successful sustained use of the land in the given manner. Class N2, this is also permanently not suitable, and land having limitation which open so severe as to proceed for any types of this land suitability, and there is no sustainability in the system. And S1 is a very good suitable land which can be used for any kind of cropping. And this is there is some sub-order. Land sustainability subclasses reflect kinds of limitation, most significantly or moisture deficiency, erosion hazard subclasses are included, and by lowercase letter with mnemonic significance. An example, S2M. S2 means stability 2, and M means the moisture. S2E means there is a erosion, and S2ME matlab moisture and erosion both. This example are given in the table, previous table. There are no subclasses. The number of subclasses recognized and the limitation chosen to distinguish them will be differ in classification for different purposes. There are 2 guidelines. The number of subclasses should be kept to a minimum that will be satisfy distinguish land within a class likely to differ significance in their management requirement or potential for improvement due to different limitation. As limitation as possible should be used in the symbol of any subject. One, rarely 2 letters should normally suffice. This dominant symbol, that is which determine the class, should be used if possible. If there is 2 classes, then they can be equally severe. Both may be given prior importance. Land within the order not suitable may be divided into suitable this subclasses. Land land suitability units are subdivided of a subclass. All the units within a subclass have the same degree of suitability at the class level and similar kind of limitation at the subclass level. The units differ from each other in their production characteristics or its minor aspects of their management requirement, often definite as differences in details of the limitation. There is recognition, permits, and detailed interpretation at the farm planning level subclass unit are distinguished by the Arabic numbers following hyphens, such as S2E-1, S2E-2. There is no limit to the number of units recognized within a subclass. Condition of suitability. The designation uh, consideration suitability may be added in certain instances to condense any simplify presentation. This is necessary to cater for the circumstances where small area of land within the survey area may be unsuitable for fully suitable for a particular use under the management of a specified for that use, but suitable for given the certain condition are fulfilled. The possible nature of the condition is varied and might related to modification to the management practices or the inputs of the defined land use. This occasional, for example, by localized phenomena of poor soil drainage, soil salinity, and the restriction in the choice of crop, limitation, and for example, to the crop with the especially high market value are resistant to frost, and also the conditional can be avoided to need the additional classification. Continuously this table, it is a phase of the order table. It is indicated by a lower case letter C between the order symbols and the class number. Example, here C twice. The conditionally suitable phase subdivided into classes of necessary as always placed at the bottom of the listing of S classes. The phases indicates it is suitable after the conditional have been met. Employment of the condition suitable phase should be avoided wherever possible. It may be only be employed if all the following these stipulations are met. First is within the condition satisfied the land is either not suitable or belong to the lowest suitable classes. The extent of the condition suitable for the land is very small with respect to the total study area. So this is the structure of this suitability clauses. There is order S1, S2, S3, and etc. And this subclasses, these classes and subclasses S2M, S2E, S2NE, and UN. Unit S1, S2E-1, S2-1-2, and etc. So this is the order and classes and this subclasses and unit of the structure of the suitability classification. The range of classification, quality and quantity. Quantity classification are based mainly on the physical productivity potential of the land, which encourage the only present as a background. They are commonly employed in this reconnaissance studies aimed as a general price of the large area. A quantitative classification is one of the which the distinction between classes are defined in common number terms, which permits objective comparison here with classes relating to the different kinds of land use. Classification of current and potential suitability. A classification of current suitability refers to the suitability for a defined use of the land and its present condition. A classification of the potential suitable refers to the suitability for a defined use of land units in their condition as soon as future date after specified. And common example of the potential suitability classification are found to studies for proposed irrigation schemes. Now the results of the land suitability classification. There are fifth results. The results of an evaluation will usually include the following types of information, the extent of which is included varying with the scale and intensity of the study. The context, physical, social and economic, are which the evaluation is based. This will include both data and assumption. Description of land utilization, types of measured like kinds of land use which are relevant to the area. The more intensive the study, the greater will be the detail and precision with which these are described. Map, tables and textual matter showing diagram degree of suitability of the land mapping units for each of the kinds of land use considered together with the diagnosis criteria. Evaluation is made especially for each kind of use, and example of the land suitability map also. The management and improvement of significance of each land utilization type with respect to each land mapping unit for which it is suitable. Again, as the survey becomes more intensive, so that the precision with which such specialization are given increase. This is a semi-detailed survey and need to be drainage might be specified, and it in a detailed survey the nature and cost of drainage work out. So there is some examples of in this land suitability classes. First is land mapping units. They are denoted by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and potential suitability for irrigation. It is denoted by S1 and S3I, N1 and N2I. Rainfed cultivation, this is denoted by S1, N1, 0. This N1, 0 is not suitable for the crop practices. S3N and N1E and N2V, this is a eroded area where cropping pattern should not be allowed. Improved pastures, this is for the pasture. S2M, S1, S3M and NLEM and N2E, it is denoted by this term. Forestry plantation, N20, S1, S2. So this type of suitability, land suitability class is for suitable the forestry, and there is on tourism and conservation, NR, natural resource management. So mostly it is suited for the tourism and conservative and wildlife protection. Now I can conclude this lecture. Suitable evaluation does not necessarily identify a single form of use as based on the each land unit. Suitable class limited are defined separately for the each use. It follows these suitability classes for different uses cannot be compared in a routine automatic manner. This is a particular land mapping and might be classified as S1 for the forestry and S3 for arable farming, but this does not necessarily mean that the farmer use will be selected. The physical and economically viable alternative are this presented with information on the consequences of the each as best for the planning. Now, learning outcome in the last student could be quite competent to know the land suitability classification, to know the structure of the suitability classification of the range of the classification and the rural of land suitability classification, and the will be able to classify the land suitability and accordingly make the planning of land according to the suitability for different agriculture and non-agriculture practices. These are the references from which I have collected the material. One is Handbook of Agriculture ICR publication, and another is the research paper by Big J and Benama I and Big KG and Benama. FAO and Food and Agriculture Organization report on the soil survey projects. Now this is about for the video introduction. These are some questions which can be discussed. What is a land suitable classification? What is differences between land capability and land suitability? And please give the different classes of land suitability classification. What are the main results of land capability classification? Give the structure of land capability classification. So these five question you must go to uploaded video, and we will discuss in detail during the webinar class. Thank you very much.